The cream envelope arrived like a cruel joke. My ex-husband James's wedding invitation, dated exactly on our 12th anniversary. He wanted me there to watch him marry my former best friend. But as I stared at the card, one thought burned clear. This time, I wasn't showing up as the broken woman he left behind. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. Rain fell softly against the window of Sophia's small apartment on the Upper West Side, a steady whisper that made the room feel smaller, quieter. The city outside blurred into gray, but inside, time had stopped. A single cream envelope lay on the kitchen table, expensive and heavy, like a stone dropped into still water. Sophia Ellis was 30 now, a woman who had learned to carry her days one at a time. Her dark brown hair fell in loose waves to her shoulders. Her eyes, once bright with easy laughter, now held a steady, watchful calm. She was slim, the kind of slim that came from too many skipped meals and too much walking. But there was a new strength in her posture. Earned, not given. She wore a faded navy sweater and jeans, the uniform of someone who had stopped trying to impress the world. 4 years earlier, she had been a wife, a mother who believed in forever. Now she was simply Sophia, raising Jacob and Ava in a one-bedroom walk-up where the radiator clanked and the walls remembered every argument. She opened the envelope with careful fingers. The invitation was beautiful. Thick cardstock, gold lettering, the kind of thing James always said they could never afford. Garrett Michael Sullivan and Amelia Hayes request the honor of your presence. The date stared back at her. June 15th, their anniversary, the day she had worn her grandmother's veil and promised to love him through everything. A slow breath escaped her. No anger yet, only a deep, familiar ache, the kind that lives under the ribs and never quite leaves. The memories came without permission. 4 years ago, James had walked into their kitchen on a Tuesday evening. He was 31 then, handsome in the careless way some men are. Short, dark blonde hair, clean jaw, eyes that could charm a room or cut it in half. He wore a tailored gray suit, the one he saved for important meetings. "We need to talk," he said, voice flat. Sophia remembers the wooden spoon slipping from her hand, red sauce splattering the floor like blood. He told her about Amelia, her best friend since college, the one who had stood beside her at the wedding. He said he had met someone who understood his ambitions, someone who wasn't tired all the time, someone who wasn't her. The divorce was swift and surgical. His lawyer was expensive, hers was young and kind but outmatched. James kept the house, the savings, the retirement accounts. Sophia received $700 a month in child support and every other weekend with the twins. The judge had looked at her with polite indifference. She left the courtroom feeling smaller than she had ever felt in her life. For 4 years, she had worked 2 jobs: data entry from the kitchen table at night, waitressing lunch shifts at a diner near Columbus Circle. The apartment smelled of coffee and damp laundry. She learned to shop at the food bank without shame, to smile when Eleanor Brooks, James's mother, called to say, "If you had taken better care of yourself, maybe he wouldn't have strayed." Eleanor was 63 now, silver hair always perfectly set, voice sharp as winter. Sophia never answered back. She saved her strength for Jacob and Ava. The twins were 8. Jacob had his father's thoughtful eyes, but a gentleness James never had. Ava was all light. Curly brown hair, quick laugh, the kind of child who still believed adults kept their promises. Sophia had never let them see how thin the money was, how many nights she lay awake counting dollars instead of sheep. She read them stories, braided Ava's hair, helped Jacob with math until her own eyes burned. They were her compass when the world tilted. In the darkest months, a small light had appeared. One rainy afternoon at the corner cafe on Amsterdam Avenue, she had spilled coffee across a stranger's laptop. The man looked up, tall, perhaps 36. Dark brown hair neatly cut, light olive skin, a quiet smile that reached his eyes. His name was Benjamin Reed. He laughed instead of cursing, offered her a napkin, asked if she was all right. They talked. He listened. Over months, he became a secret she guarded carefully. She was afraid to hope, afraid James would find out and use it against her in court. Benjamin never pushed. He waited. Now, sitting at the scarred kitchen table, Sophia opened his latest email. The subject line was simple. When you're ready. She clicked. A single line appeared, followed by an attachment. I've been quiet, but I've been working. This is for you, whenever you choose to use it. Her finger hovered over the file. Before she could open it, her phone rang. Jacob's voice came through first, small and urgent. Mom? Dad and Amelia are yelling again. Really loud. About money. Ava's softer voice followed. Mommy, can you come get us early? Sophia closed her eyes. The room smelled of rain and old wood. She spoke gently, the way she always did when their world trembled. I'm here, sweethearts. I'm always here. Just breathe with me, okay? One breath in, one out. She stayed on the line until their breathing steadied. When she hung up, the apartment was silent again except for the rain. Sophia looked at the invitation, then at the screen where Benjamin's email waited. Something inside her shifted. Not anger, not revenge, but a quiet, certain resolve. She was no longer the woman who apologized for existing. She was their mother. She was still breathing. And for the first time in years, she believed she might be allowed to live again. Late afternoon light slanted through the cafe window on Amsterdam Avenue, catching dust motes in slow golden spirals. The place smelled of fresh ground coffee and warm bread, a small island of quiet in the city's endless hurry. Sophia sat at the same corner table she had chosen that day 18 months ago, the wood worn smooth under her fingertips. She remembered the spill clearly. Her hands had been shaking. Another long shift, another bill waiting at home. The coffee cup tipped, dark liquid spreading across the laptop of the man opposite her. He was tall, 36 perhaps, with short dark brown hair neatly combed, light olive skin, and eyes that held no anger, only a gentle surprise. Benjamin Reed wore a simple navy sweater over a white shirt, sleeves rolled to the elbows, the way a man does when he has learned to value comfort over show. He laughed softly, a sound like dry leaves underfoot, and handed her a napkin. It's just a machine, he said. Machines can be replaced. People can't. His voice was low, steady, carrying the quiet weight of someone who had known loss and chosen kindness anyway. They talked. He asked about her day, listened without interrupting. When she mentioned the twins, his gaze softened further. Over weeks, then months, he became her secret harbor. She never told him everything at first. Fear kept her guarded. James would find out, she thought. He would use it in court, claim she no longer needed support. So they met quietly. Walks in the park at dusk, coffee in out-of-the-way places, conversations that lasted until the streetlights came on. Benjamin never pressed. He waited, patient as old stone. 18 months passed like that. Slow, careful steps toward trust. Sophia felt the change in herself, small at first. She began to sleep without the knot in her chest. She laughed more with the children. Benjamin never spoke of his wealth. She learned it later, from a newspaper article she found by chance. A tech founder who had quietly built something valuable and then stepped back from the spotlight. He lived simply, in a modest brownstone uptown, drove an old station wagon, gave time instead of flash. She told him once, late at night on the phone, I'm afraid you'll see me clearly and leave. He answered, I already see you clearly, and I'm still here. The words settled into her like rain into dry earth. Now, in the same cafe, she opened his email again. The attachment was large, clinical. Pages of financial records, transfer logs, property deeds in Eleanor's name. James had hidden money. Hundreds of thousands during the divorce. Accounts moved quietly. Business deals structured to show losses while profits vanished elsewhere. Sophia's breath caught. She pictured James in his tailored suit, smiling at the judge, certain he had won. The betrayal felt fresh but different now. Not rage, but a deep, tired sorrow for the man he had become. She thought of Jacob's quiet questions, Ava's trusting hugs. This evidence could reopen the case, could give the children more than scraps. She closed the laptop slowly. The cafe had emptied. Only the barista remained, wiping counters in soft rhythm. Outside, the light had turned the color of old gold. Sophia felt something loosen inside her. Not vengeance, but permission. permission to stand taller, to ask for what was right. She looked at the invitation still on the table at home in her mind's eye. June 15th, she would go. Not to wound, but to be seen. To let James look at the woman he had discarded and understand she had never truly disappeared. The thought brought no triumph, only a quiet certainty. She was ready to step into the light again, for herself, for the children, for the life still waiting. Evening settled over the city like a soft blanket, the streetlights just beginning to glow through the half-open blinds. Inside Sophia's apartment, the air carried the faint scent of chamomile tea and old paper. A single lamp cast warm gold across the worn kitchen table, where two sisters sat close, knees almost touching. Lauren arrived without knocking, the way she always did when she sensed her younger sister needed her. She was 35, tall and straight-backed, with chestnut brown hair cut to a practical shoulder length. Her fair skin showed the first faint lines of someone who had laughed hard and worried harder. Tonight she wore a simple gray cardigan over a white blouse and dark jeans, the sleeves pushed up as though ready for work. Her voice was low and steady, the voice of a woman who had learned early that words could hold a family together when everything else fell apart. Lauren had never married, never had children of her own, but she had been aunt, confidant, and sometimes second mother to Jacob and Ava. She carried her own quiet scars, years of watching Sophia suffer and feeling helpless to stop it. Sophia spoke first, voice barely above a whisper. She told Lauren everything: the cream invitation, the anniversary date, the evidence Benjamin had quietly gathered. When she finished, silence filled the room like a held breath. Lauren reached across the table and took her sister's hand. The touch was warm, familiar, the same hand that had braided Sophia's hair when they were girls. "He invited you to watch him marry your best friend," Lauren said slowly. "On your anniversary. That's not an oversight. That's a performance." Her eyes held no anger, only a deep, patient sorrow. She stood, walked to the bookshelf, and returned with a small, leather-bound notebook, its edges frayed from years of handling. "This was Grandma's," she said. She wrote in it after Grandpa left her with 2 little girls and no money. Read the first page. Sophia opened the journal. The handwriting was careful, faded ink on yellowed paper. "I will not let shame be my children's inheritance," the first line read. Lauren sat again. Grandma was 29 when he walked out. She cleaned houses by day, sewed dresses at night, raised Mom and Aunt Claire alone. She never spoke ill of him. She just kept going, and she never bowed her head to any man who thought he could break her. Lauren's voice softened further. "You have that same blood, Soph. You always did. He took your house, your savings, your trust. Don't let him take your dignity, too." They talked late into the evening. Lauren listened without judgment while Sophia cried, quiet tears, the kind that had been waiting 4 years to fall. Then Lauren spoke of a plan, not with bitterness, but with calm determination. "You go to that wedding," she said, "not to hurt him, to show him and yourself that you're still here. Fly with Benjamin, bring the children, wear something beautiful, let him see the woman he tried to erase." Sophia felt the words settle into her bones. Not revenge exactly, more like a gentle reclaiming. Lauren smiled, small and knowing. "And start tomorrow. 6 weeks of the gym. Not to prove anything to him. To prove to yourself that you're still growing." The tea had gone cold. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving only the soft drip from the fire escape. Lauren stood to leave, but first she pressed the journal into Sophia's hands. "Keep it close," she said. "When you doubt yourself, open it. Grandma's words are stronger than any lawyer's papers." She kissed her sister's forehead, the way she had when they were children, then stepped out into the hallway. The door closed softly. Sophia sat alone for a long time, the journal open on the table. She traced the faded ink with her finger. The apartment was quiet except for the distant hum of the city and the slow tick of the wall clock. She thought of Jacob's thoughtful frown, Ava's trusting arms around her neck. She thought of Benjamin's patient waiting, of Lauren's steady hand, and for the first time in years, she felt something warmer than survival stirring inside her chest. It was not anger. It was not pride. It was the small, stubborn belief that she might still be allowed to live a life that felt like her own. Saturday morning light filtered through the park's maple trees, soft and golden, carrying the faint scent of cut grass and distant hot dogs from the vendor cart. A light breeze moved the leaves overhead in slow, whispering arcs. The playground was empty except for a few early families, and the world felt small, safe, and full of possibility. Sophia walked between Jacob and Ava, one hand in each of theirs. She wore a simple cream sweater and jeans, her dark hair loose in the wind. Her steps were measured, her breathing shallow. She had rehearsed the words for days, but now they felt fragile. Jacob, 8 years old, had his father's thoughtful eyes but none of the guarded sharpness. His brown hair was tousled, his small frame sturdy from running. Ava, his twin, clung a little tighter, her curly hair tied back with a blue ribbon, her face open and quick to show whatever she felt. They had asked questions all week. Is he nice? Does he like kids? Does he know about Dad? Sophia answered honestly, but the fear remained. What if they felt replaced? What if they sensed her own uncertainty? Benjamin waited on the basketball court, bouncing a worn orange ball with easy rhythm. He was dressed simply. Dark jeans, a gray hoodie, sneakers. The way a man dresses when he wants children to see him, not his money. When he saw them, he smiled, small and genuine, then knelt so he was eye level with the twins. Hey, he said, voice low and warm. I'm Benjamin. Your mom says you're both pretty good at this game. He held out the ball to Jacob first. The boy hesitated, then took it. Benjamin didn't push. He just waited, patient as morning light. They played for an hour. Benjamin let Jacob shoot first, praising every attempt without exaggeration. Nice form, he said once after Jacob missed. Keep your elbow in like that and it'll go in next time. Jacob's shoulders straightened a fraction. Ava watched from the bench, then ran over with the drawing she had made that morning, a dragon with wings of every color. Benjamin sat cross-legged on the grass beside her, studied the picture with real attention. This one's breathing fire that changes colors depending on his mood, he said. That's clever. You've got imagination. Ava's eyes lit up, then clouded again. She looked at Sophia. Dad said you were lazy, that nobody would want you. The words landed like stones in still water. Sophia knelt beside her daughter, pulled her close. Ava's small body trembled. Sophia spoke softly, the way she did when nightmares woke her in the night. Once there was a woman, she began, who was told she was nothing. A dragon came, a big, lying dragon, and tried to make her believe it. But she remembered who she was. She stood up, looked the dragon in the eye, and said, You don't get to decide my worth. Ava listened, cheek against her mother's shoulder. Jacob came over, ball forgotten. He whispered, Mom, I don't want Dad to say that about you anymore. Sophia felt the words pierce her, not with pain, but with something deeper. Pride mixed with sorrow. She kissed Ava's forehead, then Jacob's. I know, sweethearts, and I'm not letting anyone say it again. Benjamin had stepped back, giving them space, but now he walked over slowly. He didn't speak right away. He simply sat beside Sophia on the two have a brave mom, he said. She's two have a brave mom, he said. She's been taking care of you through some hard days. I'm just glad I get to know you. Jacob nodded once, serious. Ava leaned into Sophia's side, but her eyes flicked to Benjamin with new curiosity. The sun climbed higher. They walked to the ice cream cart together, cones dripping in the warm air. The twins laughed at something Benjamin said, something small, unimportant, and Sophia felt the knot in her chest loosen. Not gone, but smaller. She looked at Benjamin over the children's heads. He met her gaze, steady and kind. No words were needed. The park smelled of summer grass and vanilla. For the first time in years, Sophia allowed herself to believe that family could grow again. Not replace what was lost, but add to what remained. A quiet Tuesday afternoon hung heavy in the apartment, the kind where time seems to pause between breaths. Sunlight slanted through half-drawn blinds, painting thin gold bars across the wooden floor. The radiator clicked once, then settled into silence. Sophia sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea she had not touched. the steam long gone. The phone rang, sharp and sudden. James's name appeared on the screen. She let it ring twice before answering. His voice came through smooth at first, practiced. "Sophia, I heard something interesting." He was 35 now, still carrying the easy confidence of a man who believed the world bent to his will. She pictured him in his office downtown, tie loosened, hair neatly combed back, the same dark blonde that Jacob had inherited. But the charm had thinned over the years. There was a brittleness beneath it. "You're seeing someone. Someone with money. A billionaire, they say." He paused, waiting for her to deny it. When she did not, his tone shifted. "Look, if that's true, we need to talk about child support. You don't need my help anymore. Be reasonable." Sophia felt the old anger rise, but it was quieter now, like a fire that had burned low. She spoke calmly. "The law doesn't change because I'm dating someone, James. The children still need what you owe them." He laughed once, short and sharp. "You're being difficult." She ended the call without another word. The apartment returned to its hush. She sat still, listening to her own breathing, feeling the slow shift inside her. Not hatred, but a clear-eyed pity for the man who had once promised her forever. The phone rang again an hour later. This time it was Eleanor. Sophia almost did not answer. Eleanor Brooks was 63, silver hair always pinned neatly, her posture still carrying the authority of a former schoolteacher. Her voice, once crisp and certain, now trembled at the edges. "Sophia, I know you have no reason to speak to me, but please, just for a moment." Sophia hesitated, then said yes. Eleanor spoke slowly, as though each word cost her. "I was wrong. For years, I pushed James toward Amelia. I told myself it was for his happiness, for the family's future. I was blind." There was a long pause. Sophia heard the faint rasp of Eleanor's breathing. "I'm sick. Cancer. Early stage, they say. It makes a person look back. I see James making the same mistakes. Hiding, controlling, thinking money will fix what's broken inside him. I raised him that way. I'm sorry for what I did to you." Sophia felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness yet, but the beginning of understanding. Eleanor continued, "You're a better mother than I ever was. You stayed. You loved those children through everything. I didn't teach my son how to do that." Another silence. Then Eleanor said, "I have more. From Samuel, James's partner. He's been carrying this guilt for years. He gave me copies, more records, more proof. I'll send them. Use them however you need." Sophia listened without speaking. The light in the room had shifted, softer now, the gold turning to amber. She thought of Eleanor alone in her large house on Long Island, the one James had kept after the divorce, the rooms echoing with memories she could no longer ignore. When Eleanor finished, Sophia said only, "Thank you." The older woman's voice cracked. "I hope it's not too late to do one right thing." The call ended. Sophia set the phone down gently. The apartment smelled of chamomile and faint dust. She opened the email that arrived minutes later. Pages of bank statements, emails, notes from Samuel. More than Benjamin had found. Enough to change everything. She sat for a long time afterward, hands folded in her lap. The children would be home soon from school. She thought of Jacob's quiet questions, Ava's quick hugs. She thought of James's anger on the phone, of Eleanor's trembling voice. Something inside her settled, not into bitterness, but into a gentle resolve. She would use the evidence, not to destroy, but to restore, to give her children more than scraps, to give herself permission to stop apologizing for surviving. The room grew quieter still. Outside, a single bird called once, then was silent. Sophia looked toward the window where the last of the afternoon light lingered. She felt no triumph, only a small, steady flame of hope. She was not alone in this anymore. And that, she realized, was enough to keep going. Midnight found the apartment wrapped in stillness, the only sound the soft patter of rain against the window pane. A single lamp burned low in the living room, casting long shadows across the walls. Sophia sat on the bathroom floor, back against the cool porcelain of the tub, knees drawn to her chest. The tile was cold beneath her, but she barely noticed. Her breathing came shallow, uneven, the way it had on nights when fear used to win. She had tried to sleep. The dress hung in the closet, emerald green, simple and elegant, the one Lauren had helped her choose. The children were asleep in their shared room, small chests rising and falling in the dark. But when she closed her eyes, the questions came. What if the children saw too much? What if James turned cruel in front of them? What if she faltered and became small again? The panic rose like water in her throat. She pressed her forehead to her knees, counting breaths the way she had taught Ava. One in, one out. It was not enough. The phone lit up on the sink. Benjamin's name. She answered without speaking. His voice came through gentle, steady, the same voice that had waited 18 months without complaint. "I knew you'd be awake," he said. No accusation, only understanding. "Tell me what's in your head." She let the silence stretch, then whispered, "I'm afraid. For them. For me. What if tomorrow breaks something I can't fix?" He listened without interrupting. When she finished, he spoke slowly. "You've carried them through worse than this. You've carried yourself. Remember the woman who kept reading bedtime stories when there was no money for new shoes? The woman who smiled for them even when her heart was heavy. That woman is still there. Tomorrow isn't about winning. It's about standing in the light you've earned." She felt the words settle, not as a command, but as a reminder. He added, softer, "I'm not going anywhere. We'll walk through it together. You, me, the kids, step by step." She closed her eyes. The rain tapped a slow rhythm on the glass. When she spoke again, her voice was steadier. "Thank you." He answered, "Always." The call ended. She stayed on the floor a while longer, listening to the quiet. The fear had not vanished, but it had loosened its grip. She rose, turned off the lamp, and slipped into bed. Sleep came at last. Thin, but real. Morning arrived with pale light and the smell of coffee. The children dressed in their best. Jacob in a small gray suit, Ava in pale blue with a ribbon in her hair. They were excited about the plane, less so about the wedding. Sophia helped them with buttons and shoelaces, her hands steady now. Benjamin arrived in a quiet black SUV. He wore a charcoal suit, simple and well-cut, his dark hair still damp from the shower. He knelt to greet the twins, asked if they were ready for an adventure. Ava nodded shyly. Jacob gave a small, serious smile. They drove to the private airfield in silence, broken only by the children's questions. The jet waited on the tarmac, sleek and silver under a clearing sky. Inside, the cabin smelled of leather and polished wood. The twins explored the seats, wide-eyed. Sophia sat by the window, Benjamin beside her. He took her hand once. Briefly. No words. The engines hummed. The plane lifted smoothly. Below, New York shrank to a map of streets and rivers. Sophia exhaled. She was moving forward. The venue was an estate outside the city. Rolling lawns, white tents, flowers everywhere. Guests arrived in polished cars. The jet touched down nearby. Discreet. When Sophia stepped out, emerald dress catching the light, Benjamin at her side, the twins holding her hands, heads turned, whispers spread. She walked without hurry, head high, feeling every eye. Inside the ceremony space, Samuel waited near the back. He was 43, medium height, solid build, graying at the temples, dressed in a plain gray suit that spoke of quiet competence. His face carried the lines of a man who had carried guilt too long. He nodded to Sophia, then moved toward Amelia's father during the prelude. Papers changed hands. Sophia watched from her seat. The music swelled. Amelia appeared in white, radiant and unknowing. James stood at the altar, smiling the practiced smile. Then came the moment. Amelia's father read the documents. His face changed, shock, then fury. He spoke low to his daughter. She paled. The ceremony halted. Amelia looked at James once, then turned away. Her family followed. Guests murmured. James stood frozen, the smile gone. He found them outside, near the cars. Rain had begun again, light and steady. James's tuxedo clung damply. He looked older in the gray light, eyes red-rimmed. He stepped in front of Sophia, then dropped to his knees on the wet grass. "I was wrong," he said, voice breaking. "I see it now. I hurt you. I hurt them. Please, forgive me. Come back." Water dripped from his hair. Sophia looked down at him. She saw the boy he had once been, the man he had become. She felt sorrow, not for what he had done, but for what he had lost. She spoke quietly. "You taught me I was strong enough to live without you, and I am." She reached down, touched his shoulder once, gentle, final. Then she turned. Jacob and Ava walked beside her. Benjamin waited by the car, door open. They climbed in. The rain fell harder. As the car pulled away, Sophia looked back once. James remained on his knees in the grass, alone. She did not look away in triumph. She looked away in peace. 3 months had passed since the wedding that never finished. Late autumn had come to the city, the air crisp with the scent of wet leaves and wood smoke from distant chimneys. Sophia's new house stood on a quiet street in Queens. 2 stories, white clapboard, a small front porch with a single rocking chair. The windows let in clean morning light that pooled on the hardwood floors. Inside, the room smelled faintly of fresh paint and coffee. The courtroom had been small and plain, the judge's voice steady as he read the ruling. Sophia sat beside her lawyer, hands folded in her lap. She wore a simple navy dress, hair pulled back, no jewelry except the thin silver bracelet Lauren had given her years ago. The evidence had spoken for itself. Bank records, transfer logs, emails Samuel had quietly provided. James's lawyers argued, but the truth was too clear. The judge granted a fair division. The old house sold, proceeds split equitably. Child support doubled, custody shared 50-50. When it was over, Sophia did not cry. She simply nodded once, thanked the judge, and walked out into the hallway where sunlight fell through tall windows. She felt no triumph, only the slow release of a weight she had carried so long it had become part of her posture. She thought of the years she had apologized for needing help, for being tired, for existing. That woman was still inside her, but she no longer led. The new house was not grand, but it was hers. Sunlight reached every corner. The kitchen had a wide window overlooking a backyard where Jacob and Ava could run without fear of neighbors complaining about noise. She quit the diner job. The data entry work remained, steady and from home, but now there was room to breathe. Mornings, she made breakfast while the children dressed, pancakes that were no longer lopsided thanks to Benjamin's patient lessons. He came often, not to take over, but to be present. He read to Ava at night, helped Jacob with math problems, sat on the porch with Sophia when the children were asleep, talking about nothing important. His presence was quiet, like the low hum of a well-tuned engine. He never asked for more than she could give. She began to trust that. One afternoon, a letter arrived, cream envelope, James's handwriting on the front. She opened it at the kitchen table, sunlight warming her hands. He wrote simply. He admitted the hiding, the lies, the way he had used control to hide his own emptiness. "I see now what I lost," he wrote. "Not just you, but the chance to be the man my children needed. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I'm trying to be better. For them." She read it twice. The words carried no demand, no manipulation. She felt sorrow for him, not anger. She folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. Forgiveness might come one day, or it might not. For now, she allowed herself relief. The past no longer owned her. The house filled with small sounds. Jacob's laughter from the backyard, Ava's humming while she drew, the creak of the porch swing when Benjamin sat beside her in the evenings. One night, after the children were asleep, Sophia stood at the kitchen window looking out at the dark yard. A single street lamp glowed beyond the fence. She thought of Eleanor's trembling voice on the phone, of James on his knees in the rain, of Benjamin's steady hand. She thought of the woman she had been, afraid, apologizing, shrinking. That woman had carried her this far. Now she could rest. Sophia turned off the kitchen light. The room went dark except for the faint glow from the hallway. She walked upstairs, paused at the children's door, listened to their breathing. Then she went to her own room, slipped under the covers, and closed her eyes. Sleep came easily. In the quiet, she felt the beginning of something simple and true. She was home. A soft winter afternoon settled over the Queen's house, the sky the color of old pewter, the air carrying the faint scent of pine from a neighbor's wreath. Snow had dusted the porch steps in thin, quiet layers. Inside, the living room glowed with lamplight, warm against the chill outside. The smell of cinnamon from the kitchen lingered, a small comfort on a day that felt both ordinary and sacred. The doorbell rang once, hesitant. Sophia opened it to find Amelia standing there, coat buttoned high against the cold, cheeks flushed from the wind. She was 29 now, her blonde hair pulled back simply, eyes red-rimmed but steady. The white coat she wore looked too thin for the weather, as though she had left in a hurry. Her voice was small when she spoke. "I'm sorry to come unannounced. I needed to see you." Sophia stepped aside without a word. Amelia entered, hands clasped in front of her. They sat in the living room, two armchairs facing each other across a low coffee table. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable, but full. Amelia's eyes filled. "I canceled the marriage," she said, "the day after the wedding. My father's lawyers handled it. I went back to school, art history, like I always wanted. James told me it was a waste of time. I believed him." She paused, breath catching. "I helped him hurt you. I knew he was married. I thought I was different. I was wrong." And tears slipped down her face. Sophia listened, feeling the old wound ache, but softer now, like a bruise fading. Amelia looked up, eyes searching. "You didn't have to do what you did. You could have stayed silent. But you let the truth come out. You saved me from years of the same life you lived." Sophia felt the words land gently, not as accusation, but as recognition. She remembered the moment at the wedding, Amelia's face when her father showed her the papers, the way she had walked away without looking back. Sophia spoke quietly. "I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because I knew what it felt like to be lied to, and I couldn't let it happen to someone else." Amelia's shoulders shook. She reached across the space between them. Sophia took her hand. Then, without planning, they moved closer and held each other. The embrace was awkward at first, then real. Amelia whispered against Sophia's shoulder, "Thank you for saving me from the life you once had." Sophia answered, voice steady, "We both deserve to begin again." They stayed like that until the tears slowed. Amelia pulled back, wiped her face, and smiled. A small, hopeful thing. "I'm going to be okay," she said. Sophia nodded. "You will." Later, after Amelia left, the house returned to its quiet rhythm. Jacob and Ava came home from school, shedding coats and backpacks, their voices filling the rooms like music. Benjamin arrived soon after, carrying groceries and a small paper bag of cookies from the bakery down the street. He moved through the kitchen with easy familiarity, setting things on the counter while Sophia watched from the doorway. The children helped him unpack, laughing when he pretended to drop an apple. Sophia leaned against the frame, arms folded, feeling the warmth of the scene settle into her bones. She thought of the years she had spent alone in the small apartment, counting pennies, keeping the children's world steady while hers tilted. She thought of James's letter, Eleanor's trembling voice, Amelia's tears today. None of it erased the pain, but none of it owned her anymore. Evening came. The family gathered in the living room, Jacob reading on the rug, Ava drawing at the coffee table, Benjamin beside Sophia on the couch. The lamp cast a soft circle of light. Outside, snow fell again, silent and steady. Sophia looked at the three of them, at the small, ordinary life they had built. She felt no need to speak. The room held everything that mattered. Breathing, laughter, the faint creak of the old house settling. She rested her head on Benjamin's shoulder. He placed his hand over hers. In the quiet, she understood something simple and true. She had not just survived. She had chosen to heal. She had chosen to trust again. And that choice, made day by day, had brought her here. To this room, to these people, to this moment of gentle peace. As the years gather, dear friends, remember this. No matter how long the road, or how heavy the loneliness, the pain of illness, or the ache of empty rooms, healing is never too late. You are still worthy of love, of second chances, of quiet peace. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs hope today. Leave a comment. Tell me your own moment of rising again. Subscribe so we can walk this path together. And may the Lord hold you gently, heal what hurts, and surround you with his everlasting comfort. You are never alone. God bless you.